so we'll see, but there are some good matchups across the board, and I think this will be a fun one to watch. And with a lot of former players on each side, I think it's going to be a great game.
Yeah. One of the matchups I'm looking at, actually, a couple more, more experience. Of course, they don't have Greg Hardy, but they still have Luke Kuechly, and they still have Charles Johnson, who make up a big part of this defense. It's going to be tough to stop them with Johnson, of course, coming off the left side, but that means he's going to be matched up with Mills. And Mills, of course, has had his struggles, but he has played well, I guess you could say. Better than some expected.
Yeah, for a fifth-round pick.
Yeah. I think Mills versus Johnson is going to be a key matchup. See how they are able to defend that situation. Another option, of course, will be just using Kyle Long to block him and Mills going and blocking a outside linebacker, which is a possibility as well. Long versus Johnson would be a great matchup. And then, of course, how they are able to stop Luke Kuechly. I think that's one of the big keys, of course. It's not easy to get by Kuechly, or to stop Kuechly, I should say. When it comes to wide receivers, I think that's the matchup they have to exploit. When you're going up against corners like Antoine Casson and Norman with two amazing wide receivers, two insanely tall wide receivers, you should be winning the battle. Casson isn't horrible, and neither are some of their corners like Melvin White and Norman, but they're not world class. They're not the kind that should be stopping Jeffrey. Look at Norman; he's 6 foot tall, so it's not too short, but it's not the size you want going up against a 6'5" guy. Melvin White is 6'1", and then Antoine Casson 6'1" as well, and Ben-Weaker even smaller at 5'11". So that's tough. I think that the Panthers don't have the matchup they want. I think that Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall should be able to exploit those weaknesses. Either way, though, it's going to be tight. I think this is a great matchup. So when it comes down to it, who do you think will have the biggest impact on this game?
Is this for me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think the biggest impact in the game, I'm going to give you a little sleeper one right here. Michael Olah. He's going to be replacing Jermon Bushrod, and like you brought up, the Panthers D-line is ferocious. They have some big guys, and even though they are missing Greg Hardy, they still have some great players. Sterling Tulele, Kwan Short, Charles Johnson, all going to be coming at Jake College. So, Michael Olah will be replacing Jermon Bushrod. He's going to need to step up big time in the game. And another one who I want to bring up is Lance Briggs. This is another little sleeper one, because most people think of him as the Lance Briggs from a couple years ago. Not been the case this year or last year. He has not played so well. And against the Packers, he didn't do so well either. So if the Bears want to win this game, they're going to need to step it up. And I think Briggs will be able to have a nice game because the Panthers' O-line, like I brought up earlier, is not very good, and their running game is not very good. So I would expect Briggs to have a good game, and I think he is going to be the big X factor for this one also.
Yeah, well, you gave me an offensive X factor and a defensive X factor. I'll do the same. I'll start with defense, and I think we've been echoing this sentiment throughout this whole show. I think Kyle Fuller is the X factor here for the defense. He has to step up. He has to be able to stop Benjamin. Last week didn't quite have that amazing performance that we've seen from him so far, but it wasn't bad either, and this is a tough matchup against Benjamin, rookie on rookie. I think that's the big X factor for the Bears, and I think he comes through, and I think he's a big reason why they will be able to win this game, which I'll get into in a second. When it comes to the offense, it's a tough one for me to go here. I think you got to go with Cutler. I think Cutler got to be the guy who steps up because he's not going up against a good secondary. I think he has to read the secondary well. I think he has to find his receivers because he should have them open. It's not an amazing secondary. Another thing you got to look at is also De La Puente. I think you have to make sure that he is able to, secure the O-line, get him off to a good start, going up against a tough, hard, mauling Panthers front line. That'll be a good matchup. Battle in the trenches could be key. So those are my two matchups that are key for this week. Now going into who is going to win the game. The moment everybody's been waiting for. Sam, Bears, Panthers, who gets the win?
I'm just going to start out by saying, I'm not biased, and, I'm actually one of the Bears' hardest critics, believe it or not. But, I still have to say the Bears. The Panthers have struggled mightily these last couple of weeks, and, last game when they played a team that's probably no better than the Bears, the Ravens, they got destroyed. And, I think the Bears will be able to do the same here. The Panthers without a run game is just not the Panthers that you know. The Panthers without a run game, they are not a good team. They need their run game to strive. And I don't think they'll be able to have a good run game today with all their injuries. Stewart and D'Angelo Williams not playing. So, I would look for the Bears to win this one 27. I'm going to say 27-17 because I think the Panthers keep this one a little bit close, because I think they'll be able to put up some points on the board. But I think all in all, the Bears will be able to come into Carolina and get their win and bounce back. So, 27-17 is my score.
He's not biased when the Packer fan is picking the Bears, too. Look, I don't think the Panthers are what they were last year. They don't have Greg Hardy, and though their defense has looked great at times, it's also looked really bad as well. They've had times where they play amazing. Take, for example, Tampa Bay and Detroit. Then they struggled against Pittsburgh, and they struggled against Baltimore. It's so on and off. You don't know what you're going to get. And I think against the better teams they've played, they've really struggled. Detroit, who's more of a defensive team, I would say right now, even though they have such great offense, I feel like they've actually played much better on defense than they have offensively, which has kind of come as a surprise to me. But they were able to get the win there. But against Pittsburgh, who's got Le'Veon Bell and a strong running game and also some good wide receivers, they really had no match for that. I think that's the difference between some of the teams they played and the Bears. They're going to have to watch out for Forte, who is, of course, so dynamic. You've got some big-time wide receivers. Martellus Bennett having one of the best years, if not the best year of his career. It's just so many matchup issues for this Panthers team. I don't think the Panthers have the matchups to get this win. I think the Bears go into Carolina, and they pick up a much-needed victory over a much-maligned Panthers team. And I think it's 24. I'm going to go 24-17 Bears. And then, of course, they're going to get Atlanta and Miami. So this is a big win right there. Because then you have, I think, a little more breathing room to a certain extent. 3-2. You go into Atlanta. Then you get Miami. 2 games that the Bears can definitely win before they get that really tough game against New England in Foxborough. The bye week and then coming back against Green Bay. But this is the point where they got to get W's because the season doesn't get any easier from here. I like the Bears in this one to get the victory. So that basically wraps up our show because we are getting close to kickoff, only 19 minutes away. Sam, any last words?
I just want to start off by saying I really just think, or just finish by saying I think the Bears really need to win this game because if they lose this one, I don't want to say their season is over, but, their season could be over because you never want to be 2 games behind in the NFC North with the Lions and Packers playing so well. So, I think this one is really a must-win. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's
great to be on the show. Thanks.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tough game, but as we've seen, the Bears, when they're at their best, they're one of the better teams in football. Then again, when they're at their worst, they can be pretty downright awful. But I know Bears fans across Chicago are hoping for a great performance from them. I, as a Packer fan, am not, but, I still want to see a good football game, and I do like Matt Forte, so I'll be rooting for him, I guess. But I'm hoping for a great game, and I know the Bears will put up a good fight as they always do. And, yeah, that's basically it. I would like to say out there whether you are a Bears fan or not, if you're whoever you're a fan of. I hope you have a great Sunday. Sunday, always one of the best times of the week. Some great matchups today. I'm excited. I know Sam is definitely excited. I know most people out there are excited. So, for Sam Marotti, I'm Noah Taborda, and this has been Windy City Sports.